This is Brody Steele, and you're watching Loudmouth Presents Off the Top Rope.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of Loudmouth Presents Off the Top Rope. As you can see, the man framed to my left is rather large, rather Canadian, and a former CPW world champion, Mr. Brody Steele, Peter Smith. Peter, how are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. How is it in the Great White North?
It's very cold right now. It's about minus 20, minus 25 Celsius. So it's brutal. I've got my wood stove burning behind me.
Oh, fantastic! At least you're saving from the 2 weeks of torrential rain we've had in Johannesburg.
Oh, really? I thought it was summer there.
Well, it's supposed to be summer, but there was a tropical cyclone in Mozambique, and I just didn't want to go away.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Before we really get into the interviews, you've been coming to South Africa for a few years now. Former CPW champion, as we mentioned. Whenever you do a promo, you tell everybody that you hate South Africa. Now, I know that's not entirely true. What is your genuine feelings about South Africa?
I've seen some beaches that I like, and 2 or 3 people that I like, I suppose. But in general, it's when you're from Canada, everything's kind of a downgrade. So, but it's all right as far as countries go. I get paid when I go there, and I do enjoy the beach. So it's not all bad.
Now, South Africa is one of the countries in a long list of countries that you've traveled to. I mean, we've read about your exploits in Germany, in England, in India. How many countries have you traveled in? How many countries have you wrestled in?
I've been to 40 countries. I've wrestled in 28 or 29 or 30. I'd have to sit down and write them down, but around 30 or just short of 30.
Wow. Okay. Well traveled. And one of the places you most frequently visit is the subcontinent of India. They seem to love you there.
Yeah, they love me all right. I've had boulders thrown at me. I've had my effigy burned in the street. I've been there 7 times. I've had good success in India. I've been a world champion there. I was part of a big event with you guys for CPW a couple of years back. India's been good to me in terms of career.
In saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong, and for some of our viewers this will be a shock. Didn't you have legal action against you in India as well?
Yes, and I never found out while I was in the country. I didn't realize, but somebody had filed some kind of lawsuit against me and the promotion about saying disparaging things about India at a press conference. Now, I knew that the people wanted to kill me. I had armed guards with me the whole time. It was really serious. I didn't realize how serious it was until one of the Sikh guards, he took me aside, and he was trying to emigrate to Canada, so he spoke perfect English, and he says, "I know that I know that you think this is sort of serious." He says, "But it's actually quite serious." He said, "We've been given orders that they really want to kill you," and I didn't have any direct attacks because I was so well protected. But at the shows, we had one show there with there's 90,000 people that showed up. Only 72,000 could fit in the building.
Yeah.
But we had rocks thrown at us. It was quite serious. It was the only time in my life in wrestling that I was actually afraid for my life of getting out of the building.
Wow, and that's a big thing, because I mean, you and the Great Collie have spilled each other's blood pretty much from north to south and east to west there.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a serious thing. I was speaking to, I think it was Giant Warrior Jeff Bearden, about one of the train trips out from Delhi into one of the other areas, how potentially dangerous that could be as well. So, it's we all say it in jest, but it's potentially life threatening.
Oh, I mean, if I've never been on a train in India. We traveled by bus, but we, if we would pull into a town and, we wanted to go get a drink of water or something like that, even without I mean, we had a lot of publicity at this point. So everyone with the television knew who we were. So
Yeah.
if you were an American, I was billed as an American wrestler, or seen as an American wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you were an American wrestler or appeared to be an American wrestler, it was dangerous. But even if I mean, have you been to India?
No, not yet. Not yet. The plans are there.
So even to be in India and not and be a white guy, to be honest with you, it's not dangerous, but it's tricky because
Yeah.
crowds will form so quickly. They just want to have a picture with you because they assume that you're there for some sort of entertainment. Especially in the small towns. Because I've been to places in India where people have told me they've never seen anyone before that's not an Indian. So all of a sudden a bus pulls up to a drugstore and 20 of us walk out, and beautiful women and big strong guys, and they all of a sudden there'd be 5,000 of them just swarming for pictures. And just that, as being involved in wrestling, and you've been on some huge events in Port Elizabeth. When
Yeah.
you get that many people, you can get trampled, you can get crushed against a wall. I mean, no matter how strong you are, you're not strong compared to 3 people, much less thousands.
Yeah.
So you'll see when I think you'll be in India probably this year, or hopefully this year. But you'll see it's a different animal.
Yeah. And plus, you traveled as well with Mr. Wrestling. Now, Mr. Wrestling has a certain gimmick and a certain look about himself. I've been his handler on one or two trips, and just his look, because he does look a
He draws attention.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it definitely draws attention. And him and I were in a situation where it had gotten to the point where it was bordering on dangerous. It was bordering on dangerous, and he draws attention wherever he goes. And even it was just maddening. It was maddening.
Yeah. Oh,
Now,
I know, because I've been in India with him too.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it was that was different. It's because I've been in South Africa with him quite a few times, and I find the attention he gets in South Africa is much more intensified, because I think people do really believe that he is who he sort of looks like.
yeah,
In
yeah,
India, nobody believed it. Nobody thought that for a second in India,
yeah.
but they just knew he was one of the different looking, but he was also he was surrounded by much bigger people than him, so it kind of took his awe factor away a little bit. But still,
Okay.
he's a hell of a guy. He's a walking billboard. He's a great guy to have on a promotional tour.
Yeah. Now, you and him have faced off numerous times. Do you feel, as the former champion, and him being the current champion, there's some unfinished business there? Because
Absolutely,
you
yes,
have
yes.
traded victories.
I fully intend to break his neck, or his neck, something. I fully intend to get my revenge on him. The last time I wrestled him, he did kind of a face plant move on me that really wrenched my neck. I remember you were there,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's gonna pay for that, and that slowed me down towards the end of the match. I was concerned about my neck, and he ended up getting the pinfall. But I won't make that mistake twice. That's one thing about not only being strong but being a genius is you learn from your mistakes.
Sure, sure. Now, people can see obviously by your build and your physique. I mean, you're 6'6", you're 130 odd kilos. I mean, you're a big guy. You do hit the gym pretty hard. You know, you're a fan of squats. Let's put it out there. You're a fan of squats and things like that. Do you think that prepares you for lifting up a person as bulky as he? Because you're a powerlifter before, so surely it should help you in the ring.
Well, I wasn't a power lifter. I was a strong man, but yes, I was an avid squatter, and I'm still an avid deadlifter, trying to get back into trying to overcome injuries for squats. But absolutely, if anyone tells you that strength isn't an attribute in any sport, they're lying. I don't care if you're a pool player. If you're playing 8 ball and you go to break, the stronger you are, the better. baseball, rugby, no matter what the sport. I mean, you don't have to be huge, but the stronger you are per pound, the better you're going to be at the sport.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's in wrestling, it's a huge advantage, and when you don't have to struggle as much to pick somebody up, then
Mhm.
you're going to have a lot more energy left at the end of the match.
Right, right. Um, the pinch grip, the two-handed plate grip. Now,
Yeah,
you and Gene Snitsky have been going back and forth. I believe you were going back and forth about lifting the plates with the pinch
yeah, well,
grip.
yeah. The 315 fingertip deadlift, where your arms are out, and you
Yeah.
grab the inner plate by the rim. So
Mhm.
we've both done that, but I haven't gone. See, our gym was closed for months,
Okay.
so actually just reopened yesterday. So I haven't been
Wow.
really working on my grip strength, but the 45-pound plates facing in, smooth side out. That's a very very obscure lift, and there's only a handful of people in the world that could do it. I
Yeah.
currently can't do it. I could do it 15 years ago, but I haven't trained grip. I'm just back to it now. So, but sometime this year I'll do the 90-pound pinch. I
Right.
don't know if Snitsky's working on it or not, but he's a super strong, very underrated for his strength. He's got freakish strength for a guy who's tall and kind of, he probably only weighs 270 to be fair, and he's the same height as me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's also 50 years old, so he's incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
I
Now,
I, I wanted to, I wanted to wrestle him in South Africa. There's another guy that I had unfinished business with, but he seems to be done with the long trips now.
yeah. Well, we haven't spoken recently, but last year when I did speak to him, he did say that he wants to have one more go in South Africa. So
Oh, good.
potentially it could still happen. Obviously, if the money's right. It's the first thing, if the money's
Yeah,
right. But yeah,
yeah, of course.
he's definitely has mentioned South Africa is still on his list of things to do. Now, speaking of the gym itself, has the wrestling in the Maritimes opened as well, or is it just the gyms, just the fitness centers?
The gym just opened yesterday. The crowd size is limited to like 50 people now.
Yeah.
So now the wrestling's been. I did a student. I promoted an academy show for a wrestling school I have here last November.
Mhm.
We just had a little window of opportunity. We were only allowed 200 people. We got 200 people. So it was just a break even event and a chance for the students to have a match.
Yeah.
But as far as wrestling to any kind of degree of success, see, also our country is the last in the world for the vaccine rollout. So
Mhm.
by the time it's going to be 2023 before we're even partially vaccinated, we've got a very inept government. So as far as full crowds, I'm going to say no way this year.
Okay.
But I've actually retired locally anyway. Before the pandemic hit, I'd announced that I'm not going to wrestle the Maritimes anymore. I just
Okay.
I know that my bump card is almost full,
Yeah.
so I'm going to reserve it for the do re mi.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something. I had Joe Legend on um, the last episode, and I've mentioned Jeff Bearden on there. They mentioned the bum card as well. Guys and people that don't realize, we get a lot of messages from people that want to join CPW. How do you join? That type of thing. 99% of them are chances. 0.1% are actually going to get into the ring, and 0.1 of that 0.1% are actually going to make something of the creating things like it. Realistically, how many bumps do you think you have left in you?
Oh, I mean, it depends on circumstances. Last summer or 2 summers ago, 2019,
Mhm.
I went and I did 8 weeks in England where I wrestled 10 times a week.
Yeah.
So, and that, to be honest, it was bothersome for about 2 days. And I even decided for the extra exercise, because we were having a hard time getting to the gym, I jumped on the ring crew. So I was setting up the ring, tearing down the ring some days by myself because there was more room in the ring truck than the car. So I traveled with the ring guy,
Yeah.
and we would get there, and he was a big fat lazy guy and he couldn't do anything. So he would always say, "Oh, wait for the crew." And I said, "Look, man, we're here. Am I going to sit here and drink a coffee, or I'm going to grab a couple ring posts?" And so half the time I'd set it up by myself, and
Sure.
I I felt fine. Like I say, the more you bump, the better it feels. But long term, of course, there's micro effects, and
Yeah.
I don't want to risk an injury at a show for a couple $100 when I'm missing out on potentially thousands on the tours that pay. So
Yeah.
it comes down to a financial decision.
Now you mentioned
But
the
Joe, I
British.
mean,
Sorry, please go ahead.
yeah, no, I was just going to quickly say, like, Joe, I haven't talked to Joe in a while. Joe would have 5,000 matches under his belt, and he's a bumper. He's a heavyweight, but he's a bumper. So
Yeah, yeah,
imagine the bumps he's taken. I mean, he's taken hundreds of thousands of bumps.
yeah. And
So yeah, I mean,
he spent a good 7 years in South Africa, and he wrestled Tornado many times on TV. And I mean, they're two big guys, and they were going all over the place.
I bet you I've wrestled him 300 times. I started wrestling with Joe here in Canada. Then when I was in England and Ireland, we always wrestled there. I wrestled him in Austria. I'm going to say, yeah, 300 times where we've locked up.
That's probably a conservative amount as well.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Now you mentioned your British tours there. We've spoken many times. Sometimes around a coffee, sometimes around a draft beer. But you've mentioned wrestling in the UK many times. Was there ever a point in the UK where you thought, well, I'm here more than I am at home. I might as well relocate to the UK?
No. This is always home, and my wife has a career here, and I've been married throughout my whole wrestling career. So no, it was never a thought. If anything, it was, how can I find a way to spend a little less time here? And I loved England, and that kind of work volume, and it really does. I suggest every young wrestler or any wrestler that plans on doing this as a career should try to get to England for at least one summer and know what it's like to get in the ring every day, day in and day out for weeks on end. I mean, then we used to only do 22 shows in England in February, and we complained about it. This is bullshit, man. 22 shows. What are we going to do on 6 days off? And then March would come, we'd do 30 shows, and then the rest of the year you'd be lucky to get a day off. And I was rooming with Daniel Bryan in 2003, and we went one stretch 102 days straight without a day off. Then we had 2 days off in a row and didn't know what to do with ourselves. We were complaining after the first day. Wanted to be back on the road making money.
Sure. And in terms of the places that you've wrestled, where was the one country where you wrestled at where you thought, oh man, this wasn't a good idea? Who decided to wrestle here? Which was the one country you thought, okay, we don't need this?
I've never had a country that I just really didn't like, in terms of the country that I just couldn't wait to get out of. But we did a tournament in Cyprus in 2005. We did a 4-day tournament in a great big basketball stadium, 10,000 seater. So we thought this is going to be huge. There was investors from England, from Turkey, and from Greece. So all the 3 main nationalities in Cyprus at peace, promoting a wrestling event. So we flew in from England. We're thinking this is going to be huge. I mean, we'd seen pictures of the venue. So we get there for the first day of the tournament, and it was kind of weird that there was no cars in the parking lot. It was only a few hours till the event. Holy shit, man. So we walked across the street to get our water from a corner shop, and we walk in, these big, huge guys. It was me, Doug Williams, Robbie Brookside, and a real big crew, and everyone with a wrestler look.
Yeah.
So the guy looks at us. He goes, "What are you guys doing here?" Well, we're wrestling here across the street. He goes, "There's no wrestling here." I don't know. There is. He goes, "Well, I haven't heard about it." We thought, okay, if the guy in the shop across the street hasn't heard about it, they've done no advertising.
Yeah.
So it turned out that the guy had sent the money from England to an advertising firm. They pocketed the money. They changed email accounts and never saw him again.
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
we got there the first night. There was 4 people. So we decided, well, we got to take matters into our own hands, and we'd go to the beach every day and try to talk to people and make ourselves visible. We built it up to maybe 100 people by the 4th night, but it was a complete wash. I mean, we were staying in a 5-star hotel, that all drinks and food on the promoter. I can't even imagine what he lost with flights and everything. We
Yeah,
all got
yeah.
paid well.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, as long as you got paid, I suppose that's the main
And
thing.
we had fun. The bars don't close in Cyprus, so we had a lot of fun.
Oh wow. Okay.
There's no pressure. You knew there's going to be nobody at the show, so it's not like you had to have a 5-star match that night. So
Sure. Sure.
Sleepily kind of went by the wayside.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what that's like. I know what that's like. In all your travels that you've gone, you've seen many wrestlers throughout the years and things like that. Who was the one wrestler besides the obvious? I mean, you've traveled with Daniel Bryan, you've traveled with a few other guys that have now made a name for themselves. Who was the one guy that you traveled with that never really got the push that he deserved, even though he was just fantastic all the time?
It depends what you mean by push. Because some guys are just happy to stay regional and make a living and have no desire to go to WWE. And so I would say in that category, there would be James Mason from England, who
Okay.
actually works for WWE now as a trainer. But he had he wrestled every day in England from the time he was 14 to 40. He owned a ring, so he would bring the ring and hire the ring out. So he would get paid the wage for the ring, the wage to wrestle as James Mason, who's the best wrestler in the world and was always in the main event. So that was good wage. And he would always bring a mask and get another half wage to do another gimmick.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, nobody in the States knows who he is, but everyone in England knows who he is, and he's and as far as in-ring talent, besides Robbie Brookside, possibly Fit Finley, I don't think that anyone is anywhere close to him. He just, including Daniel Bryan. I love Daniel Bryan. He's a great wrestler, but he's no James Mason.
All right. Okay. That's a big statement there. Has there been, besides now India, we've discussed India and the death threats and things again. Was there ever a situation where the guys were outside having a drink and things like that, where you looked at the situation and said, okay, I've had enough of that. I'm walking in the other direction because these guys are going to start causing trouble and I'm not going to be involved in that?
Walking in the other direction, very rare, but it's stuff like that happening in bars all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I'm not generally one to walk in the other direction. I mean, now that I'm getting older, I probably would, but
Sure.
it's me, if you get a call, somebody's usually they end up checking out once you call their bluff. But yeah, I've seen some sticky situations in clubs. Funnily enough, Daniel Bryan, who doesn't drink a drop, we were in a bar in Liverpool one night, and the bouncer comes up, who's a friend of mine, and he said, "These guys over here, they plan on jumping you guys when you leave the bar, so just be careful." He says, I got your back too.
Yeah.
We were outnumbered, and some of the guys who I won't name because they're big guys who claim to be big, brave, tough guys, they wanted to leave immediately. That one of them asked, "Can you let us out the back door? We'll just slip away to another bar." But not Daniel Bryan, 5'7", 180 pounds, sober as a judge. He said, "This is awesome." He says, "I've never been in a real street fight before." He couldn't wait.
Oh, wow.
He was poking at the guys, saying, "Let's go then." But they didn't. They all chickened out. They thought, if this guy's that brave,
Yeah.
we've got something to fear here.
Right.
And he is a good shooter.
Yeah. Well, that's a thing I find. It happens sometimes, not all the times here, that guys will start getting a bit iffy, and you generally step up to them, and they kind of wuss out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep you much longer, Peter, because your time and everything like that. And I appreciate you making time for us.
Just wait 1 second. My daughter just wants to say hello.
Okay, that's fine.
She wants to come to South Africa and kick some ass too.
Hello, how are you?
In particular,
I'm
him.
good, you.
I beg your pardon?
I'm good, you.
Oh no, I'm fantastic. Thank you very much for asking. She's adorable. She's adorable.
Yeah, she is.
My daughter's. You should bring her over. My daughter's 14. The two of them can play, and it's awesome. It'll be awesome.
Pre-COVID, I remember last 2 winters ago, we were sitting around with a family nearby here.
Mhm.
They live across the street. They're good friends, and we were thinking, and he's a pilot for Air Canada, so he can arrange good rates on flights and stuff. And we thought, well, I said, look, I plan on going to Port Elizabeth in April. That was the Wrestle Monster that was canceled
Yeah,
2020,
yeah.
and yeah, and we were real close discussions about bringing both families over and making a vacation of it, going a week early and maybe staying a week late,
That's
because
yeah.
it is a beautiful place, part of the country.
Well, I was speaking to my wife as well. I said to her, because she wants to move down to Cape Town, to be closer to her friends and some of her family. And I turned around to her. I said, "You can go to Cape Town. That's fine. But I'm stopping off in PE. I'm going to stay in PE. You can stay in Cape Town. That's fine."
I thought you lived in Johannesburg.
I do live in Joburg. No, my wife
Oh,
wants to
okay,
move down to Cape Town.
okay, but you prefer Port Elizabeth.
Absolutely. I love.
Yeah, yeah.
I love the event. I love. Okay, I can't stand the wind.
Hmm.
But other than that, the place is fantastic. People have always treated me well, so why not?
Right. And it's the home of South African wrestling as well.
Yeah. In terms of that, the wrestle monsters and the things like it. Obviously, COVID aside, um, that event started off in a little hall because it was raining with 1,500 people. It's now reached the point where it's attracting tens of thousands of people. Um, did that influence your decision making in terms of getting more involved with CPW, because you're getting more and more involved behind the scenes than you are in front of the scenes as well?
Absolutely. The thing is, when you go tour anywhere, as I'm sure you know,
Mhm.
you hear how great it's going to be, and you take it with a grain of salt. Because I mean, I had been speaking to Mark online for 10 years at least before I ended up going to South Africa.
Yeah.
We just never, the timing was never right to make a deal. Either I was too busy or he was, whatever it was. But we stayed in contact and stayed cordial and friendly. I always liked Mark, and I still do. And so when he called for this one, I think it was 2017. I'm going to say when I finally did go, he was telling me how big the crowd was going to be, and I think he was saying that he was predicting 10,000 plus. So I'm like, okay, and I didn't believe it. I mean, I was told when I went to India the first time, I said, Jinder Mahal had told me we're going to have huge crowds. So I remember telling my wife, it looks like we're going to have, a few thousand people. I was thinking maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't realize it was going to be tens of thousands. And then when I got to Port Elizabeth, I think we had 14,000 people for that show.
Yes,
So
we
I mean,
did.
yeah, it was unbelievable. And I love when you see that an event has come together, community support, and
Mhm.
people that want to just enjoy the show and cheer for their heroes. It's fabulous to be part of it. And the fact that I was treated like I was family, going for home cooked meals at Mark's home and stuff like that. It's it as much as I say I want to beat up South Africans, I'll save Mark till last,
Yeah.
because his wife Marietta is the salt of the earth. She feeds me. Look, I feel like I've got family there, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's just a nice feeling when you're away from your own family.
Yes, yes. Jazzy Gabbard mentioned Marietta's cooking as something specifically that when she comes back to South Africa, that's the one thing that she wants. She doesn't want to eat out. And I mean, we spend many times at the Humewood Hotel eating there, but at the end of the day, nothing beat the home cooked meal.
Absolutely, I didn't know what a braai was.
And I bet you tell all your friends, I had a braai, and you explain the
Yeah, yeah.
experience to them and everything like that. Peter, the last question before you go. With all your wrestling experience that you've had over the course of your career, 20, 25 years, if you had to pick 5 guys that you have wrestled with to start a new promotion anywhere, any situation, any country, any time period, which would be your top 5 guys that you would choose?
Active wrestlers?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Okay. I'll go with active, because if I go with non-active, then or deceased, there might be hurt feelings. So active wrestlers.
Right.
Number 1, Mike Hughes.
Okay.
Number 2 would be Chris Bambi Killer Rabar.
Hmm.
Number 3 would be James Mason. Number 4 would be Tony Spitfire, who his real name is Gary Littlewood. Another guy with very little fanfare. Number 4, I can't really stop at 4 because I'd want to put Anansi Kopis on this list. I think he's a real untapped talent. I'm going to go with Anansi Kopis and Lloyd Anoy. So I'm going to go with 6.
Okay.
If that's okay.
I
hate to break your rules, but
one in reserve. No, you're big enough to break my rule. It's fun. It's fun. I'll take it. You'll just have to buy me a draft beer when you come to South Africa again.
I'd love to.
All right. Peter, I thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. We look forward, we anticipate the time where you can come back to South Africa. I really like to see you get in the ring again with Mr. Wrestling, because like you, I also owe him one. So he threw me into a dustbin. It wasn't pretty. So I owe him one as well.
If Mr. Wrestling even dreams that he can beat Brody Steele in the rematch, he better wake up and apologize.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Loudmouth presents Off the Top Rope with Peter Smith. We thank you very much for your time, sir. Please stay warm in Canada, and we look forward to seeing you again. This is the Loudmouth Off the Top Rope, uncensored, uncut, and after Mr. Wrestling.
Cheers, mate.